Mile high Marxist Bernie Sanders proves there is no climate emergency. Duh. He's a hypocrite. Because if there was a climate emergency, he wouldn't be jet setting around the country on a private jet. He's too good to be with the plebes, to be with the regular people and fly fly commercial. He's too good for that. He needs to fight the oligarchy. So I guess the climate crisis pauses for him when he flies around his private jet, right? Like, this is ridiculous. And the author of this article echoes my sentiments. I can't wait to go over this with y'all, because it is exactly the same thing that I've been saying about this hypocrite Bernie Sanders. So we're gonna cover this article, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon, and that's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Zero Hedge, and they report that they say, give the devil his due. Senator Bernie Sanders never misses an opportunity to remind Americans about our planet's supposed peril. Right, it's the end if we don't do something about climate change. Right, isn't that what they've been telling us? But in a 2023 MSNBC op-ed, he whined, quote, "The climate crisis is not just an environmental issue; it is a matter of justice, of health, of economics, and of national security." According to Sanders, climate change is a moral and existential threat, demanding sweeping government intervention and dramatic changes in personal behavior. Except when it comes to him. It's okay for him to fly around, though. Except, of course, when it comes to how he lives his own life. Like I was saying, Sanders' recent Fighting the Oligarchy tour paints a very different picture. While crisscrossing the country, decrying the evils of capitalism, Sanders traveled by, you guessed it, private jet. According to a new analysis from Power the Future, the senator's 16-stop tour spewed an estimated 62.15 metric tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. According to him, that should be bad, right? According to their beliefs, they said this is bad, but it's okay for him though, right? To put in context, that's more than an average American produces in 5 years. 5 years. He did it in a matter of months. In fact, Sanders' emissions from just one tour equals the annual emissions from 15 gasoline-powered cars. It's the carbon equivalent to driving a gas-powered SUV 150,000 miles, or more than 6 times around the Earth at the equator. And this from a man who wants to regulate what kind of stove you use in your kitchen. These people they need to be chastised for the hypocrisy here. Now, if he actually believed the nonsense, I would say, okay, all right, yeah, you just believe in this stuff. But this goes to show that he doesn't believe in this stuff that he's talking about. But when questioned about the blatant hypocrisy, Sanders didn't offer contrition. I actually did a separate video on that a few days back. He doubled down. He said, quote, "You think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United while 30,000 people are waiting?" He snapped at Brett Baer. These are the limousine liberals that we talk about, the limousine socialists. He's called himself a socialist, right? These are what real socialists do. This is exactly what real socialism is where everyone else live in small quarters. Everyone else have to suffer, can't fly around on planes, can't use a gas-powered stove, but it's okay for them to do so. This is he's displaying exactly what socialism really is. But this isn't the first time Sanders' climate preaching has clashed with his jet-setting lifestyle. During the 2020 Democratic primary, his campaign shelled out $1.2 million on private jet travel. Then, as now, the justification was the same. It's okay when Bernie does it because his cause is righteous. Let's call this what it is. Mile high Marxism. I love that. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Mile high Marxism. Sanders flies high above the rest of us, belching carbon into the atmosphere while demanding working families pay more for energy and drive electric vehicles. He insists there's a climate emergency, but behaves like there's no emergency at all. The green movement is filled with elites, just like Sanders, people who use the language of crisis to amass power while living above the consequences of their policies. It's like the elites talking about they were talking about defund the police. Remember when they were talking all that stuff? Defund the police. That's because they live in gated communities, so they're not really worried about crime in their neighborhoods and things like this. This is the thing. These are the things that they do. They know that they never have to deal with these things. They can afford to not do these things, but push it on the average American. They want to ban gas cars, restrict domestic energy production, and ration electricity, but they never give up their jets, SUVs, or lakefront mansions. It's not about saving the planet. It's about control. Haven't I been saying that for years, y'all? Consider this. If the planet were truly teetering on the edge of climate catastrophe, would the loudest alarmists be the least willing to change their own behavior? If climate change were the existential threat they claim, wouldn't they at least attempt to lead by example? Is that too much to ask, right? Instead, we get moral lectures from the tarmac. In Bernie Sanders' perfect world, Americans brace for rising utility bills, submit to EV mandates, and prepare for lifestyle sacrifices in the name of climate justice. But the hypocrisy is impossible to ignore. Jet fuel for Bernie, unreliable solar panels for you. We get limits, they get luxury. Perhaps the clearest signal of the climate emergency's last gasps is how those who scream the loudest behave when the cameras are off. Sanders and his ilk want us to panic, comply, and pay up, but their actions, lavish travel, carbon excess, and indulgent living, reveal that even they don't believe their own doomsday rhetoric. When Bernie Sanders burns more fuel in one tour than a family does in half a decade, he's not undermining his credibility. He's exposing the entire charade. It's almost as amusing as a multimillionaire socialist, right? They're talking about they need to pay their fair share of taxes. No one is stopping you for paying more taxes. So why don't you give more, Bernie? Which he don't. People like him don't even really donate. So the next time you hear Sanders railing about climate justice, remember this. The mile-high Marxist says that the world is ending, but he's still flying first class into the apocalypse. And that tells you everything you need to know. Shout out Larry Behrens for this article, wonderful article, eloquently saying what I've been talking about for a long, long time. These socialist Marxists are all hypocrites. They really don't care about people. They really don't care about the environment. They care about lining their own pockets and living a luxury life. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.